Hello again, everybody. My last video actually gained a little traction, not much, but a little, and from little acorns mighty oaks grow. So rather than rant about some pseudo-Latin so-called scholar, I thought I'd dedicate this little video to knowledge and experience and how to become successful, while at the same time never losing sight of what's most important. That is loving kindness, being a good person, and cherishing a loving family and having a good life and good friends. First of all, let's get down to business. Right, so money and success. We'll deal with the philosophical mores of life a little bit later in the video. In Labor's book, Tower of Basel, which is an unofficial biography of a shadowy and extremely powerful banking conglomerate in Switzerland, most people have never even heard of them, though they are much higher in the world's pecking order than even the IMF, WTO, or even the City of London, the Square Mile. They're on a par with the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, which owns Wall Street, the New York Stock Exchange. Anyway, in his book, Labor says, the appearance of financial stability creates monetary value. Now, if you walk into a bar as a musician that looks like he's just been dragged through a hedge, you may get somewhere, perhaps, if you're talented enough, which fortunately I was. But it is far better to stack the odds in your favour. The appearance of success generates more success. So always dress better than they do, always appear smart, and always reflect the corporate image is what it's called in business. There are other things which can add to your success. Many of you watching this little video will not realise that I used the technique of power words in the title of my last video. These are not magical or mystical, but based on human psychology, sadly. They're based on science, on provable evidence, on based tests, not mysticism. As a caveat, I'm a practitioner, an occultist, and a firm believer in magic. I'm a hermeticist. In the third book, in this book I picked up in a second-hand bookstore on how to read people's body language, some 13 years ago now. I discovered a study conducted by UCLA, the University of California, Los Angeles, which proved that there are certain power words which instantly cause feelings of joy and euphoria when people hear them. Among them, there are success and money. Both of these words are included in the title of my last video, which gained a lot of traction. Other power words include things like you, or love, or safe. I won't bore you with the rest of them, for that would be giving the game away, but there's a warning to their use. I was once asked to transcribe some Latin abbreviation, that's paleography, for a firm in the Middle East. I insisted that we had a video call to discuss the business. The employer, who has an awful and constricting contract with no reasonable, rational person would ever enter into, much like striking some deal with Satan himself just for a mere 30 pieces of silver in exchange for one's soul. They didn't show their face, and they used a third party hired out in the Philippines to conduct the business. They wouldn't deal with me themselves. Anyway, the interview was going well, even though I couldn't see them. And to cinch the deal, I thought I'd use a number of these power words to force their hand. But I used too many, too quickly. So these power words are very dangerous, and they are only to be used intermittently and sparingly. Should any of you want to know what these words are, simply message me and I'll give you the title of the book. So, what about making money? Well, let's assume you're a writer and that you're fed up with your job, but you're not willing to write quote-unquote romance, that is pornography, because you have integrity and you have some decorum and a semblance of reason. You're not willing to sell out, just as I am. Now, there's an excellent video on how to do this, to set up your own publishing company. I'd have included this in the link below. This scholar is a marine biologist and oceanographer that also writes children's books. Okay, so let's say you've written a book, because everybody's got a book in them, or you've written a number of books. How do you get that to market? Well, the first thing you should do is buy NJ's Guide to eBook Formatting. This explains how to get a book uploaded and so it reads well on all different devices, so you're not at the behest of Microsoft Word or Google Docs or Scrivener or any of these other tools, all of which output very messy HTML. They look nice on the surface, but then you read it on a Kobo or a Kindle and It comes up like Egyptian hieroglyphs. So, and it also explains how to not absorb yourself into the Amazon miniverse, but to leave your options open so that you can trade books on all markets. So this will provide you with a little bit of passive income. In all likeliness, it might only be a trickle of income, but it could easily be enough to have a passive income. With marketing and advertising, you can generate still more revenue. Then what you need to do is to start trading. According to Tom Hugart in his book, The Best Loser Wins, only 22% of people actually make any money trading. Most people lose money. Tom Hugart was working in the London Stock Exchange, and he sat and watched everybody else trade for a period of 30 years. So he understands traders' behavior because he's watched you people trade over a very long time. The reason most people don't make money is, one, they don't have the emotional discipline to trade well, and two, they're not willing to let their winners ride. So they get a trade and it's ahead, and then they take the profit, or they set their profit too high and they never get to that and they lose everything. I myself, I found the secret source of trading, and it was in one particular commodity. It was while I was writing up my notes, because they were so scrappy. I was writing down notes, watching the economic news every day, and I couldn't read my own handwriting. So I decided to write them out neatly. And I got to one point and I thought, oh, maybe I should write the price of that commodity down. So I wrote the prices of the various different types of that commodity down. And I noticed a sudden correlation. I'm not going to say what it is, but I basically found the secret source, which is great, because I had to read very many books over very, very many years to be able to get that. So I'm not about to share that quickly. Right, so only 22% of people actually make any money trading. Everyone else loses money. That's a fact. So the first thing you've got to do if you want to be a trader is study nothing apart from economics. And this is said in Market Wizards. You just study economics. Forget about all the fluff and the muggles and anything else. You just study money. That's it. Right. Second, don't get pissed or stoned or wasted while you're trading. Dr. Andrew Aziz, in his book How to Day Trade for a Living, says that there have been very many studies conducted which prove conclusively, beyond any doubt, that the human brain is sharpest and best when it is clear-minded and not clouded by intoxicants. Now this sounds like a very difficult thing to do, but for those of us which have the work ethic, we can do this easily. I know very many crooks that trade and they don't have the work ethic. They've never worked a day in their life. They get pissed and stoned while trading and then wonder why they've made no money. You need to approach this seriously, like it's your regular day job. You're going into work, you're not going to have a bottle of whiskey or a spliff before you go in. You get your work done first, then you get hammered. This is a school, it's not a playground. That's Victoria taught me that. This is serious business. Let your steam off after work, not before or during, however tempting that may be. Work, then play. Give yourself and your family a good work-life balance. Now I remember my old headmaster at Simonsbury Primary School. Simonsbury is one of the nicest, if not the nicest places in the vast wide world, to quote my play, Boadicea. Time seems to stop still there. It's so pleasant and a nice and agreeable place. Anyway, my headmaster once said, nobody works in the afternoon. And I didn't understand what he meant by this. For 40 years I've been thinking, why? Why would Mr. Marnie say that? And I simply assume that you push and you keep pushing and you keep pushing and you keep pushing. To my mind, the way I was brought up was to work as hard as possible, as often as possible. I only recently came to understand why Mr. Marnie said this, why it was. It's because Mr. Marnie used to very probably work in London, trading. Now the optimal times to trade the markets are about an hour after the markets open for a few hours, and then the opportunities get less and less and less. There are occasional opportunities out of hours trading, but most of the price action happens at the open, goes crazy, and then it settles down. Then you have about a 2-hour window to get the best trades on, and then according to all the books I've read, the opportunities get fewer and fewer throughout the day. There are certain exceptions like the witching hour, but I'll explain those in another video. So what Mr. Marnie should have said was, nobody works trading in the city of London in the afternoon. Mr. Marnie, as it turned out, was a man that preferred to sleep with other men. Most people in such a small provincial village wouldn't accept this. They're very closed-minded. So he kept it completely silent for very many years, until eventually he retired and moved to California, where he could be himself and not have to hide who he truly was. Literally the only gay in the village. You've got to love California. There are other considerations when trading too. In this day and age, we, point-and-click traders, are competing with HFT, high-frequency trading machines, and computerized trading systems. According to 2 books I've read, The AI Stock Investor and also another book, How to Day Trade, up to about 70% of trades are executed by computers automatically nowadays. There are ways to identify if a stock is being traded by a computer, and these hallmarks are outlined in Andrew Aziz's How to Day Trade. Avoid them like the plague. You can't outrun a supercomputer, even with hotkeys set up. These systems are designed to flush out point-and-click traders, retail traders like us. They make hundreds of trades very quickly, making 10 trades by the time you put on one. It's no different to the Industrial Revolution. There's a song about it. We used to play in the band, and it goes like this. They invented a new machine, peg and all. They invented a new machine, peg and all. They invented a new machine, I peg 1, it pegs 15. Gonna lay me down, peg and all. Another huge mistake very many traders make, from what I've read and heard, is once they've made a big trade, they get too happy and start putting on loads of other trades. This is a very difficult situation. On the one hand, you should really double down on good trades, according to Tom Hoogar, instead of backing off. If you've got a good thing, let it ride, you know. However, on the other hand, once that trade starts to go the other way, you should get out, then stay out. Don't lose all of your hard-won gains just because you're on a high with euphoria. Turn the laptop off. Take the dog for a walk. Go for a run. Show your missus some attention. Read a book. Do some gardening. Do anything other than get back in and turn that laptop back on, because you'll likely soon lose everything you've just earned just because you're on a high. It's patience that is key here. You have to wait. Be patient. Don't rush in, but when you do rush in, act decisively once you've found a good prospect. What is a good prospect? A trade which meets certain criteria. This is evidence-based. It's not based on opinion or even perhaps instinct, but good data-based analysis. And bearing in mind, many indicators are used by many traders, and we all have our own different psychology, so what will work for one trader will not work for another. So you've got to find your own mean. There are different ways and means with this. So, as with study, so it is with trading, reflection is a large part of self-improvement, knowing where you went wrong, learning how to improve upon it. I've heard that, and read that keeping a trading diary is important. Marilyn Monroe once said, keep a diary and it will keep you. So what about beyond day trading? Well, there are some things from ancient philosophy, which also quite often feature in the history of the world's religions, and indeed modern Hermeticism, which apply here. It's a skill I acquired busking, but you can also acquire it through reading philosophy or meditation or even prayer. It's this: don't think about the money. When you're busking, if you've got no money, you're on the street, it's pissing down with rain, you don't want to be there, you're hungry, you're cold, your dog's shivering, you're thinking, what the hell am I doing here? And if you think like that, and you let the world get on top of you, you'll never make any money, because you have to be happy, you have to be at peace. You need the money, you want the money, you're hungry, but at the same time you can't appear to want the money, so you have to just not think about the money. In one book I read, a trading psychologist, a coach to other traders, said that he's helped very many really big traders increase their accounts loads by visualizing that trading values are a game. Now, at first I thought this was ridiculous, absurd. This is not a game. It's real life. It's serious. This is real money at stake. However, I have read Many great traders have had success by imagining that they're playing with poker chips or monopoly money instead of real dollars. As soon as you assign value to the pieces on the board, you allow yourself to be influenced by negative emotions, which can overload your clarity of perception. But if you just give it no thought and remain nonplussed by the pieces on the board, easy come, easy go, then it changes the dynamic and you can trade much more efficiently, because you tend not to become upset as much when you lose or as euphorically high when you win. It allows you to attain emotional equilibrium more easily. This is what hermeticists call equipoise. Almost all of the world's religions assign absolutely no value to money. This is not how religion has transformed today, which is into a mere materialistic endeavour, a tool for political control, but it's how its original message was. The message of the world's religions all say the same thing. It's loving kindness. It's not selfish avarice or greed. Greed and fear are the enemy. On that note, I wish you all a very good afternoon and take care.